Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Alaya as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Alaya, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio, and thank you for joining us on this day. Today we have a really interesting topic, and I'm going to introduce you pretty soon to James Olson, the author of How the Whole Brain Thinking Can Save the Future, Why Left Hemisphere Dominance Has Brought Humanity to the Brink of Disaster, and How We Can Think Our Way to Peace and Healing. This is a very timely topic because right now we're all recognizing in our evolution of how male pattern thinking at times has led us to certain situations throughout history. And what's interesting is we're going to take the holistic view. Sometimes on this show that we get kind of lost in the metaphysical, but this book is fascinating, and I'm constantly discovering things. So I've picked out a few questions to focus on, but really, in your own evolution and your own understanding of the physical body, or it's a whole life journey. The soul projecting spirit into a physical form. We have the spiritual state, we have the mental state, the mental, emotional, and the physical body. It's a holographic projection. And a lot of times, recently, we've been, with the heart expansion, we've been concentrating on the heart. But what's really important is the crown chakra, or else the brain. It really is... I don't want to put computer. That's why I'm searching for words. It has such a major function in our physical energy body. Now, I'm going to introduce you to James Olson, and I really think he provides, he was ahead of his time. I don't what year he wrote this, but it's so timely now. James, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me today.
It's great. Like I say, I've been talking to you in pre-chat. You opened my mind so much. When did you write this book? What year?
I've written it over the last couple of years. Took me about that long, and then about 6 months of editing.
Really, because it is so timely. It's we think of our brain and all the potential, untapped potential. Right now, what you're concentrating a lot in this book is about the dominance of the left hemisphere and the right. Can you go into explaining a little bit about that? Give some basic foundation.
Yes. Well, the brain is laterally split into two hemispheres, and Roger Sperry won a Nobel Prize in 1981 for discovering that basically each hemisphere has its own consciousness, or its own flavor of consciousness. And what we know is that most males are left brain dominant. The left brain is the side that informs them, and most women are right brain dominant. And although we all have access to both sides of our brain, something called genetic dominance sets us up to be either left brain dominant or right brain dominant, and that's the majority of us. There are few people that actually have balance, and there are some people that have a hybrid mixture of the two. But most of us are left brain or right brain dominant, and that throws us into two major groups. And with each of these two groups having different perspectives and different ways of responding to the events in our lives, it sets up a conflict between the two, because they're really very different. They're not just similar; they're complements. What one does, the other one doesn't do, and so, but together they do everything. Together they see everything and have all kinds of responses. But if we get locked into one side or the other, we are limited, at least limited in terms of what the brain is telling us. But then we also have culture. The brains of other people are speaking to us, and so we can always have access to whole brain thinking, because the world outside is trying to convince us or trying to inform us about the other side too. And that really comes from the opposition, because the two sides are so different. They seem to be in opposition. And so when we hear for example, in the political arena, when the opposition is talking to us, that's really our non-dominant brain, the side that we don't normally listen to. Of course, when we're talking about culture, go ahead. Yeah, that basically explains what I wanted to say.
Yeah, no. I was just, I was looking. I have all my papers scattered in front of me here, and I thought a good statement you had made was the left hemisphere is analytical, which is also deconstructive. It takes things apart. It separates. That's how it goes about exploring reality. It's also aggressive and forceful, and needs to be in order to overcome the unity of wholeness that functions to unite us. And that's what we're kind of seeing right now. It seems in humanity, and this is a complicated subject, but that's why I wanted to constantly remind people to check you out on Facebook at James Olson, author, and to check this book out, because if you really want to get detached and get a larger view of what's going on, this is the neuroscience. We have finally accepted how our heart energy, which is the emotional state of being, has affected all. Emotional energy is also what we consider the female dominance versus the male dominance, So our society is really reflecting what's going on in this brain patterning. Would you say that, or agree with that, or?
Absolutely. Men, because they are physically dominant, have dominated our educational institutions, and they have dominated culture in many ways. And so males have essentially set up our learning institutions such that we teach women to think like men, or at least we try to.
I like that.
And so that is
try to,
and that, yeah, and that has distorted the way we think. Now, women think and men feel and women feel, but as you pointed out, women tend to be more oriented toward their feelings, and men tend to be oriented toward thinking. And unfortunately, men are not taught how to deal with their feelings, whereas women have a more balanced understanding, because women have a natural sense of feeling, plus they're taught how to think to a certain degree by the institutions that men have set up, which are really kind of thought-based.
I see, Lisa, one of the other questions that you had presented, and the answer, I think, compiles all that you're saying, because how this whole brain thinking can save the future explores our relationship with three energy systems: the physical things, the mental thoughts, and the spiritual emotions or feelings. Why a holistic approach is necessary to understand the thinking brain. The short answer is that the universe surrounds us, as well as the universe within our skin. That's the universe that the brain is reporting on, is made up of the three systems. Rather than focus primarily on the world of things, as scientists do, or philosophers do, or feelings, as religionists do. This book explores our relationship with the three energy systems and draws our attention to the physical world, which is specialty of the left brain. Like you said, the male dominance. Now, besides being people opening up and starting to understand and, voicing their things, we have this male-female revolutionary going on. It seems even with the Women's March, this is coming up of saying women, there's many women I notice also, they have a very left brain dominance, which is interesting. They don't want to admit to it, but I think a lot of women are trying to do their own balancing act in the brain. Would you say that this is part of our evolution, where we're going to trying to find the balance between the male and the female? All right, we'll come back to that, okay, James?
Okay.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
All right, Jim, so I was trying to, let's say if I can bring this short, is men are basically coming with a left brain dominance with certain qualities. But through evolution now, many are opening up to their heart, the heart chakra, which is, the emotional feel. And now we also have the women who come in with the emotional feel, opening up to the male dominance. I'm not trying to confuse anybody. I mean, this is a fascinating subject. I often wonder, the woman with this balancing act, with this push to be more dominant, I think the world's very confused. It's bad our brains just don't automatically come in balanced. What would you say on that one?
Well, I don't want to get too complicated, and the book goes into it. But there's actually we experience two types of we have two experiences of dominance. When information comes in to the brain, it can be essentially come into the right brain or the left brain, and that's basically what differentiates men and women, because men tend to be informed by the left brain and women informed by the right brain. But there's also another variable, and that is our response. The information coming in is an input, and we also have an output that is a separate variable. Just because we have a masculine left brain input doesn't mean that we have to respond that way. We can respond, even though we're males, we can respond lovingly and with feeling and compassion and all the qualities of the right brain. And so what I found in my latest discoveries was that there's a dominance to information output, and that many women are left brain dominant for information output. And basically what that means is women have this ability to understand the holistic aspect of the universe, but because unfortunately for them, because they live in a world that's so masculine dominated, and in cultures that are masculine, they're also equipped, if their output dominance is left brain, that makes them equipped to deal with and to live in this masculine world. That gives them an aggression that you see in women, and this aggression is an output response. And so that's why I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing women standing up so powerfully at this time, because it's needed, and they actually have this ability. Women tend to be more balanced. The right brain uses the left brain to inform it. The right brain sees the big picture, but it needs details, and it gets those details from the left brain. The left brain, on the other hand, is a unit to itself, and the left brain does not get information from the right brain. So if you're left brain dominant, as are most men, you don't understand what's going on in the right brain unless you're some right brain person like your wife, your mother, your sisters, your daughters, unless you listen to them and get that information from them. So men are kind of at a disadvantage, and they really need to be educated. And that's the purpose. That's the original reason why I wrote the book, to explain the right brain perception and response to left brain men.
And that's fascinating, because what it brings up is, as children, or we call our ancestral DNA, it's how people are taught. And that's what you were saying. Our children, or once we recognize and understand what's going on here, our children need to have education of both ways of thinking for them to be balanced, not just to predominantly, because you come in a male physical body that you have to react in certain ways. You have to have structured thinking. You have to have etc. And as females, you have to have certain roles. So this is a definite door to understanding. Neuroscience, it's complicated, but the way James has written this. It's really provocative thinking, and I think it's really a missing link in our education, because this is what we need. It also brings up, I had talked to him pre-chat, was about the LGBTQ community. We have become so aware of what the indigenous elders through time called twin spirits, people that embody both projections of male and female dominance, or the gay community, in its many different aspects. And also now we're coming into transgender. That's bringing up to our attention. So would you say the transgender is, we're even seeing this in children coming in, or, they're expressing this. This is sort of, they're taking whatever dominance they came in with, but correlating it to the opposite hemisphere in their responses and how they project themselves. I don't know if I'm making any sense. In my mind, it makes sense, but I'm not sure if I'm saying so. Please clarify.
Well, you are making sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was. No,
it is a complicated subject. Like the world right now is being faced with transgender. Would you say this is a result of the combination of using the two hemispheres?
Well, yes. What my understanding is, and it's based on something that we have been hearing for a long time. This is not particularly a new discovery, except that I have been able to back up this discovery with science, and that is that the left brain is masculine and the right brain is feminine in terms of their functions, and but not all men are left brain dominant. Some men are right brain dominant, and when the right brain dominance is in effect in a male, then the male body is effectively being directed by the feminine side of the brain. So that male is suddenly or is seeing reality in the same way that women, and we're speaking in broad general terms, there are always exceptions. I'm talking about the more stereotypical female response. So you have this male that has this feminine response, and it's just, the response is just like that of the average woman, including just as women are seeking their complement in a male body, then this male is likewise seeking its complement, which is the male. So you end up, so the feminine mind is attracted to men. So if you're a male with the feminine mind, you're going to be attracted to men. And
I think another component in your work that I saw is we also have to consider the two hemispheres and the hormones that they control. The male, the testosterone, and the female, the estrogen. That's another component to how people think and feel, it would seem.
Exactly, and that's what complicates. That complicates so much and has made this subject so cloudy, because we have all these factors involved, and you have to kind of separate them out, and that's what science is able to do, is to go in and look at these details, and once you get enough details, that clarifies the big picture, and that's basically what I've done. I've gone in to look at the science, and with my And although scientists tend to be very focused and they tend to be compartmentalized, and I've gone in with a holistic attitude and tried to bring these various aspects of science together into a big picture, and that's kind of what's unique about my work, is that it's a holistic look at science. And you had mentioned transgender, and what appears to be happening in terms of transgender is that all of these forces are you might say on a continuum. They can vary from very mild to exceptionally strong, just as there are some men that are extremely masculine and some men that are just moderately masculine and some men that are just kind of gentle and not very aggressive and more neutral in terms. And so for example, if you're a male, straight or a male, you have your male body and you have a feminine perspective, well, that basically makes you homosexual, because you're attracted to the mind is attracted to its opposite, which is males. But if this is a very gentle force, if your feminine mind is not very is on the let's call it the gentler side into the continuum, then that's not much of a necessarily much of a challenge to you. But on the other hand, if you have a male body and your mind is very strongly feminine, then you feel this conflict and you seek to resolve it. And we often seek surgery.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll continue this afterwards, after the next break.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello! Join us, Lisa Berry and Michelle Carter, every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Mindset Makeover, What's Possible. Get ready to become present, clear, and unstuck, and start living fully, led by your heart. While you listen and feel this transformation through vibration of word, sound, and song, you'll open up to what's possible and experience your shift.
Hey, this is Reva McIntyre, and I wanted to talk to you about a serious problem right here in our own backyard. Did you know that there are nearly 16 million kids struggling with hunger in America? That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks collects surplus food, engaging their communities in solving hunger and giving hope to hungry kids and their families. But they need your help. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
No, I just wanted to continue on this, train of thought a little bit longer, because I know for years, even during my life, and, the subject of alternate lifestyle was always, very much in the background. People were shamed and stuff. And many people, they did speak out. They say, I didn't choose to be this way. I was born this way. And basically, the mass consciousness was saying, yeah, right. But James' book is, providing the science behind those people's words because of the introduction of understanding the brain. when he goes into the holistic whole approach, now we're really detaching and looking at the human being as a very complicated organism. You know, you bring in the element of, let's say, the spirit, the soul, choosing maybe what it wants to experience in this earth life, adding the energy actually into the brain, the crown chakra, you know, in creating the physical form. And so often we neglect the brain. So in this show, we're only touching on topics, and that's why I really, if you have any interest in this, and you're curious and you really want to get the whole overall picture, I really do recommend James Olson's book, How the Whole Brain Thinking Can Save the Future, because we're facing all these issues now, and the only way we're going to understand them is we really look at the larger picture. Now, when I had mentioned children, and, that life is complicated. By the time I finished reading your book, I even found it's more complicated than I thought it was. But this book really explains, helps, to put some things in perspective. The children coming in, they need to be understood. They need to be given balanced education and understanding. Not all the ones that say about the transgender people are afraid, our whole race is going to become like that. I don't know. I think our whole race, and you were saying if we can achieve an understanding of the two brain consciousness, we can maybe come to a sense of peace. And how could we do that?
We come to a sense of peace by understanding one another correctly. What we have now is a misunderstanding of who we are, and when we don't understand, we're afraid. I mean, that's just a kind of a normal response. If your children are different, you start wondering, well, what did I do wrong? And you didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but you don't have what you expected. Your child is different than you expected him to be. He's a guy and he's acting like a girl, and that's just tremendously frightening. It can be. It isn't if you're educated, if you understand that this is part of the normal diversity. We don't want everybody to be exactly alike. Life is much more interesting when we have diversity, and this diversity of insights and helps us to find new solutions to our problems. So the diversity is wonderful, but it can also be frightening when you don't understand it. So I've tried to explain what is going on to alleviate fear. And if parents understood that their gay children was a really natural phenomenon, this is a natural pattern, and understood why, that it's genetically determined by genetic dominance, and that they really don't have a choice, then you wouldn't keep trying to fix them. You would understand that they're as they were meant to be, and you would try to help them understand who they are and where they belong in our culture.
And I think that's really very important, because we need to be non-judgmental as parents and as human beings about all life, period. And, I think this is what we're working toward. And as adults, we need to be educated. Just because, you reach the adult stage does not mean you know everything. At this point in my life, I'm still learning every day, and every time, I meet an author or something, I'm constantly learning. So just like, you broaden my perspective on things just with this book. I start to look at things differently. And it provides a sense, I know on one part, it provides that sense of peace. And that, my own personal ideas were, if I can understand or look at people like this and what they're projecting as a physical body and try to understand what's going on in their mind and more accepting. And is this what you mean by accomplishing peace? To, right and left brain sort of kind of coming together.
There are teachers have long taught that peace is a natural state, and what I am seeing is that our peace is disrupted by conflict. So if we could get rid of the conflict, we'd all be at peace. But everybody around us is experiencing conflict, and if you go, even if you go on Facebook, it's become it's just full of conflict, and it's reaching out. It's energetic, and it's disturbing our peace. And so we need to get rid of our conflict. And one way we do that is by understanding the source of the conflict. And for example, even the political arena. I don't know if you want to get into that right now or not, but one side is liberal and one side of the brain is conservative. And they're at war with each other. Basically, the war between liberals and conservatives starts in our own mind.
And
the same thing between men and women. If you want to continue on that trend, it's the difference between
I
men
would,
and
but we have a little bit more time. Yeah, I think that's important between, there's so much isolation right now between men and women. They're fighting each other. How do we come, like you said, they have, each individual person has their own brain dominance, but how they respond to it is what's important. Because I know metaphysical ideas that we are projecting is to, you have a thought, but you have control over how you respond vocally, what energy you put out there. So this really has to do with how your mind works, asking for more balance, more expansion. Would you say that's the direction?
Yes. I like to think of the brain as two sources or two streams of information that are pouring into mind. And one stream may be gentle, the non-dominant, and then you have this dominant stream that really kind of takes over. And so you can always reach out to your non-dominant side. You can learn what the non-dominant side is designed to see, because it has its own unique perspective. And you can learn how the non-dominant side is geared to response, what its natural tendency is. And so then you can kind of reach out and try to learn more about it. And when you have these, when the mind is giving you these alternative thoughts, you can understand that they're not really in opposition to the dominant side, but they really supplement it or complement it. When we understand both sides correctly, we see that they're a team that is designed to work together, but they're so different that, in fact, they're so different that they can seem in opposition to one another. And we just need to understand that they're not really in opposition to one another. that they're complements, and we do that by learning the characteristics of each side, which is what my book, one of the things the book tries to do.
And that really is important because it's on a day-to-day basis. This is something I think most individuals react instead of, they react to life instead of actually looking at the bigger picture. And I like the idea that you said, you have some control, between the two hemispheres. You don't have to be one way or the other. You don't have to be fighting each other in a way. So it's, this whole thing holistically between, spirit, mind, and body. It's a very complicated subject. I said the brain and, the crown chakra as part of that hasn't been explored that much. And yet it's something that we're faced with daily. So do you think that if people can get a sense of, and that's why I do, constantly suggest them reading this material. It's complicated, but he presents it in a very way that we all can understand. And it brings a very in-depth science, neuroscience. And you read it and go, oh, really, is that what's going on? This is what makes sense. I think, we'll be back.
Okay.
Feed your soul with Waves of Consciousness on OMTimes Radio. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change, called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Well, this show goes really fast, and, really into the last 15 minutes. So before I ask you a last question, where can people find you and your book and your website? I want to get that out first.
Okay, my website is thewholebrainpath.com. And you can hopefully buy the book. You can buy it on Amazon and the other large retailers, and hopefully you can also order it through your local bookseller. And I'm on Facebook,
also.
James Olson, author.
Okay, like I said, this book definitely provides a missing link. I know I keep mentioning that, but it provides the key to understanding that I think people are ready for. Now, in this last 15 minutes, the final question, which I'm looking at here, what's the brain's role in finding peace? I think emotionally, everybody's ready. But what would you suggest?
The brain's role in finding peace? Well,
yeah.
It's like Roger Sperry discovered in his Nobel Prize-winning work that the two sides of the brain are essentially well. There's another guy, a guy named Sherrington, who described the brain as opponent processors, and that is that each side pushes against the other. It's like if you put your hands together and you push with one side or push with the other. One side can dominate and push the other to one side, and so the thinking process works in much the same way. One side tends to want to dominate the other, but you can, and when it does, that causes conflict because that throws you out of balance. That makes you left brain dominant, and you can fail to understand the values of the right brain, or if you're right brain dominant, you can fail to understand the values of the left brain. And so we need to create some sort of balance. That doesn't mean that if you're left brain dominant, your dominance is going to change. It just means that you open up to the non-dominant side, you open up and allow the two ideas to find a harmony, because there is a harmony of the two sides. They're designed to work together. So when we have conflict, that means that we have not yet found the harmony that is there to be found.
And that's, like I said, I think this is something we're all striving for. And what I like is you bring the science behind it. Because a lot of people that, just maybe an overview, so when we talk about, subjects that I talk about is, balance, being centered. They go, oh, that new agey stuff. But you bring the element of, no, there's physical science involved. This is the facts. This is the reactions. It's complicated. You got the hormones. You got the spiritual, challenges. There's a whole lot of things going on here for the person to experience. But, you're saying we can do it. The brain has a great potential, for, we can repattern our brain. Would you say that?
Yes, and I'd like to point out that the first half of the book is really the science part, and it's kind of the theory that explains all of this, and then the second half of and so I try to be, I like to condense my writing, so it's kind of condensed, and I think a lot of readers are going to have to kind of slow down when they read that. But the second half of the book uses stories from culture about how the brain has influenced culture, and that half of the book reads quite easily. And if somebody gets, kind of stuck on the first half of the book, they can always jump to the second half of the book, and I think they'll find the stories about how the brain has affected our culture fascinating.
Actually, your whole book, I'm going to say, it reads very interestingly. You don't blow our mind with the science and the facts. It's very well written, and the flow of it is very good. A lot of times, it's one of the books that you need to sometimes go back to. I would say like a research book, a reference book that I have have many references books, and I'll go back and try to put pieces together. But that's why I keep on stressing that for people that are feeling that they really want to understand what life is all about, from the holistic view and the science, and looking at culture and, even history. We're constantly repeating things. We want to get out of this messy cycle. Let's start understanding people. And this is a very good reference book. That's why I keep on pushing it. I really think that's why I asked when you wrote it, because it's very, very timely. And people are looking for answers. And, I think, you provide a lot of keys in a very understandable way, because we're ready for it.
Well, that's kind of the way the universe works. The universe gives us what we need when we need it sometimes.
Yeah, and, from your perspective, to bring it through, to say, okay, I'm going to, tackle this and bring it through, that's quite a step also in your own, soul path. So like I said, combining metaphysics with science, fascinating subject. And we find out we're far more complicated than we think, and there's far more potential and far more ways that we can actually create a world of peace. And it's not just theory. Look at the science. Understand how your responses work to, from yourself, how you need to respond, how combine the two hemispheres, and all the potential that there is there. We'll understand people better. So you have any last ideas for everybody before our show ends? I mean, this is such a deep subject, and we only could touch upon things, So that's a lot of your links are on the promo, and I really hope that people, will start investigating it.
And there's quite a bit of information. There's quite a bit of information on the website itself as well.
Okay. Repeat that website for everybody, please.
It's thewholebrainpath.com.
All right. So everybody, the information is out there. And I always, let people know on the show, we're presenting information for your own education. And it works like this. Is confirming the science that everything is not just theory. That there's a lot of good basis to it. So I'm very grateful, James, that you came on. Like I said, we only touched upon a few things, but I think it gives people an idea that there's a lot more to life than they think. So, do you have any other books in the works?
No, I think it's going to take a lot of time to promote this and to answer people's questions about this book. I don't know. Who knows what the future holds?
That's true. Well, I'm glad you took the step and wrote this one, because it's something I never considered myself. So, like I said, I'm constantly learning from everybody else, and I hope people take this step and start to understand, a little bit more in depth of what's going on with us and how it actually will, in our own personal understanding, that it will affect future generations and affect everything. Really, it's not a subject to dismiss. We need to be balanced. Like I said, you gave me a lot of time to think here.
Well, thank you for.
Like I said, I'm hoping. No, I thank you for coming on. Like I said, really is a very in-depth subject, and that's why people really need to look at your website and to get some ideas, and then, to also get the book, because it's really a step in the right direction of understanding what's going on in the world.
Wise men and women have always said that the most important thing we can understand is to understand ourselves. And you've touched on that, and that's really why I wrote the book.
Well, that's, like I said, that's why I said it was very, very timely. Because if you look at everything that's around us now and things that many of us are talking about understanding your own wisdom, but in understanding your own wisdom, sometimes you have to explore a certain amount of education to broaden your mind, to open your mind more, and to see it's not so isolated. So, James, I thank you for coming on. It's a fascinating subject, and everybody, a lot of his links are on Facebook, James Olson, the author, and also on our promo. So please check them out. And thanks, James, so much.
Thank you.